in Naples, there were drugs everywhere. So probably lots of other players were up to things, or lots of other people were enjoying themselves. It was just, he was so good that somehow he managed to be the best soccer player in the world and not even train. And I think there's a particular section in the film when you see it where he goes through in detail with a typical week in the day in the life of Diego Maradona.
How the hell can you do that at that level, not training? You're just, and he always looked kind of square, but to be that, I mean, that sport requires certain cardiovascular training.
It doesn't make any sense. And that's the point. When you look at him, no athlete looked like Diego Maradona. And he had this amazing low center of gravity that people just could not knock him off the ball. But, you know, you can't sustain it. That's what happened. You know, you can live that way for a certain period of time, but you're not going to get away with it. And you look at his face, the kid that arrives in 1984, and the guy who looks out of shape and quite big and bloated in 1991, they're two different people. So the problem is it does break him. He doesn't get out of it without, you know, a lot of damage.
But the cocaine helped.
With the running.
The whole soccer thing,
with the
I don't know. He will always say, and people will always say, you know, how good a player could he have been if he wasn't on coke, you know. I think it was...
a tired one. He would have been a tired one if he wasn't on coke.
Average.
Not an average player, just tired. How startled were you when you discovered the footage of the media interviewing his mistress in the hospital bed as she gives birth? Maradona's family is finding out about this.
Not literally as she gives birth. I think it's just after.
Right. No, after she gives birth, there's an interview of this woman saying that's Maradona's baby, and that, I imagine, that's how Maradona's family found out.
That's a biggie. I mean, that's a really controversial moment, and it's almost like the turning point in the film. That's when everything changes, because if you look at his face, everything up until then, he's kind of young, he's innocent, he's bright-eyed, and then he decides to lie and deny this child. And everything from then onwards, something's changed. The light's gone off a little bit. You know, he's living a lie. He wanted a kid. He wanted a son. He's a very classical kind of Latin bloke who wanted a child called Diego. His grandfather was called Diego. His father was called Diego. He wanted his son to be called Diego. And he has a son in this city that loves him and that he loves. And then he decides, I can't admit that I've made a mistake. You know, he's got a long-term girlfriend. His girlfriend's pregnant at the time. So he lies and denies it. And that is a massive turning point. So that footage is... you've got to realize we're dealing with real people. I've met that woman, Sinagra. I've met that child who's now grown up, who has a kid called Diego now. You know, I've met his ex-wife, so I've spoken to them. They're real people. Can you imagine what it would have been like to be in that family? So it's really tough, and that is the big difference between fiction films, I feel, and documentaries. These people are real people. That is an awful moment for many people in their lives. And to dip into that, you have to be very sensitive and careful how you deal with that stuff.